So guys, you will have seen last week that we did have a fitting for a new golfer on the channel, a 22 handicapper who tried all different shafts, different weights, different designs, whether it was graphite or steel, but today we are now testing different heads. We are trying to get him into the perfect set of golf clubs. We're here at SGGT, as you will see shots on screen, but what is he going to be fitted to? And if you want to know what shafts he's got, guys, go back to the video. But let's put it back over to Lawrence and Kieran.
Right, so we've done the shaft, we've done the grip, we've got a sort of balance and an idea of where we want to go. So there's quite a few different heads that I think we should have a look at. So we've got sort of like Callaway's Elite HL, maybe the AI 300, might be a fraction too strong in physical loft. The new JPX 925 HLs as well. Just I want to get some physical loft in your hands.
Yeah.
Okay, see more appropriate sort of performance in the flight. See whether that physically changes the characteristics of what's going on.
Yeah.
If we don't see that, then we're just going to try and find something that still keeps that descent angle there, that peak height, and keep the forgiveness up for you as well.
Perfect.
All right, so we'll start off with the Elite HL. So as we've done all the testing through the 8, we'll stick with this to start with. Then when we find the most appropriate head or couple of heads, we'll check how we deal with them higher up in the bag.
Yeah.
We may see a point where we might have to look at either a different model or a different shaft. We can look at that as and when we get to it. But what we'll do, we'll just stick with the 8s for now, just because of where you're at with your handicap makes it much easier for you. We'll see a lot more regularity of the data and so on.
Yeah.
So just going to get the line on a little bit more upright here. So let's see what your first impressions of that. What do you think?
Shinier than mine.
Right, at the ball, happy or?
Yeah, seems, yeah.
Nicely done.
Felt nice. Pushed it left a bit.
Okay, not too bad.
Felt like I struck it well, but like I said, distance obviously went down as expected.
Yeah,
like spin rate's higher.
I'm expecting it to be sort of like mid for your club speed, more mid 50s
Yeah.
for this 8 iron.
Yeah.
Whereas we were previously sort of like mid 60s.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to see a clubs with a drop in distance, but hopefully get that spin in it in that sort of window we're trying to achieve. Nicely done. Just a little bit of a pull, and that could be some of the characteristics we see from obviously hitting a pull. We'll typically see the left shots bring the spin down, lowers the launch as well. So again, you can see that just popped out a little lower.
Yeah.
Spins drop down a fraction. On average, it's a little bit higher. But what you can see again, that club path, that standard deviation down in the point something.
Yeah, definitely.
Instead of the 1.5s that we were seeing with your previous golf club. So it shows the sort of makeup of it is decent. .925 HL, so for where we are here, it's sort of up at 36.5 degrees aloft, this particular setup that we've got you in at the moment. So this is 4.5 degrees weaker than your current 8 iron.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Felt nice.
Yeah, a little bit high, a little bit out the toe, but
Yeah.
6.2 spin, good height, good spin, just a little bit of a miss strike,
Yeah.
but lovely shot, really nice. Again, lovely shot that. So a little bit of a pull, I expect to see the sort of spin drop down a fraction from there. Good distance though, 150.
Yeah.
Good land angle.
So I need to be, that's kind of what my carry wants to be, about 150-ish.
150, 155 would be really good for you for like an 8 iron.
Come off a bit.
That's not carrying 150.
No, that is not carrying 150.
Fine. How does that feel to you?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest.
I'm just kind of getting used to a bit more of the setup kind of things. I'm trying to think a few more hits. Just be used to it.
Yeah, take your time.
Find it out here.
Does it feel harder or easier than your Strixons?
First 2 shots felt easier, but I don't know if I'm just
that's fine. You
overthinking
get
it.
a lot of shots as well, right?
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I felt better.
You
It's just
see
one
the
of them
height
things
there
where
as well.
getting used to it. Height, massive difference.
Yeah, lovely shot that. Yeah, 6-7 spin, so much more appropriate spin for where you're at. Yeah, really nice. Like that. Strike wise, still very central. Obviously, we've got those couple of heavier ones in there. Yeah, so you can see there across the board, we've finally got your spin up at that 6.5.
Yeah.
Whereas before we were sort of 5.6, some
Lower,
even
lot
a
lower,
little
yeah.
bit lower. So you can see here, understanding what your profile of shot needs to be and what it should look like,
Yeah.
and what you've been in for the time that you've had them has just given you a sort of elevated expectation of distance. Don't
Yeah, I
get
think
me
that's
wrong,
probably why
really
I knocked them
nice.
few shots. I think I'm trying to hit it a bit harder to
Yeah.
kind of get that distance back, but
Actually, when we look at this and look at the functionality of your golf clubs, all of a sudden this acts appropriately. But where's that 4-iron going to look? For you, that 4-iron will be, or 5-iron and 6-iron that you've got in the bag already. You could add a 4-iron in, but like the 5 and 6-iron are going to become an easier golf club for you to use. And again, go in appropriate distances, give you better gapping, because at the moment you've got such a broad loft separation between your gap wedge and your pitching wedge. Let alone the fact that one's a more of a blade style golf club than your hollow ZX4s.
Yeah.
Like the difference in comparison there is going to be much greater in distance, let alone having the broader loft gap as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so you've
totally,
got sort of like the structural makeup of the head that gives you a big difference. Then you separate that even more by the difference in the loft as well.
Yeah.
All right, but really, really like that. Really nice. Like how that's coming off. Like how that's delivering. Again, lots of really good numbers across the board. We look at the shot shape, very, very consistent in terms of peak height and direction.
yeah.
We swing it left, the ball's going to go left,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Club faces left. We know that's what you're working on as well. Really like those. Nice.
Just weird though, because my shot shape's normally quite slicey right.
Yeah, but all of a sudden you're just having things square up to your path. So the next port's just to square the path up, right?
Yeah.
So a couple more heads I want to have a look at. Ping 440. Again, nice, easy golf club for you to swing and hit. It'll have a slightly different feel than the others, just with it being full cast, but let's see how we get on. So can't weaken this off as much as we'd probably like, so I can only do a couple on that.
No worries.
But let's see how we go on there. How does this feel, better or worse?
Worse than the last ones, I think.
Okay. Spins there, flight's there as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're hitting that little bit of more of a left to right to
Yeah.
get the spin up. But ultimately, that's not a huge problem there. But
No.
just worse than the last one. Doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, I don't feel as good.
Okay, it's a big thing, right? You've
Yeah.
got to have things that feel and look nice to you personally as well. Okay, so going into the Titleist T350 here, again, very similar sort of profile of golf club that we're going to try. Okay, suitable for your sort of level of golf. What we're trying to do is just give you something that gives you that more functional and appropriate flight for you to then progress and sort of accelerate how you get better.
Yeah.
All right. Good strike.
Yeah, it felt a nice strike, to be totally honest. I felt better.
Nice. Just coming out a little bit flatter.
Yeah.
You can physically see it as well. Again, some of these head models, we just can't get the loft that we need on there. You've had to hit that little bit of a left to right to get the spin up. But again, it's the appropriate distance that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. This one feels a lot harder to hit.
Okay.
There you go, check.
So obviously weakening product as well does change the structure of how the sole interacts with the ground. So as you add loft to a product, you're going to naturally add more bounce to it as well.
Right.
So we may find that we want something that physically starts at a much higher loft as well. So just like that Mizuno, much easier for you to get the club into the ground. It slid really nicely. What you may experience when we're having to weaken products, sometimes they feel like they're jumping or jarring back at you. And that's just, as we weaken them, we are increasing the bounce angle on the golf club as well, which can give you that sort of sensation. Nicely done.
Left to right.
Just a little short compared to the Mizuno, but good spin angle, good angle of descent again. Nice. Lovely strike, that one. Nicely done.
That felt nice.
Nice and soft, aren't they?
Yeah, felt softer.
Just going to go back over, because we hit that one really good. Again, nice spin numbers, coming out really nicely. Go throw you back into that Mizuno.
Yeah.
Mega.
Feels nice, that one.
Just easy.
It just feels like it just comes off face a lot easier.
Nice and quick. Good height, great spin. Lovely. Yeah, just nice and easy, that.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Right, so what we'll do, we'll go up to the 6 iron. Build that one up for you. Right, so I made the 6 iron up. What I have done is I've taken a layer of tape out the grip so you can feel the difference between the two. So it allows you to just check which one you prefer.
Oh yeah.
Feel the difference there?
Yeah, definitely.
So again, it's one of our unique things, obviously being able to change grips during the fit allows us for you to, on the same club, same shaft, etc., test the sort of thicknesses.
Yeah.
Whether you want a couple of layers and things like that. Just helps us understand what you're doing with your golf club, right?
Yeah.
Nicely done. I know that was a little bit
lower, but
lower in terms of flight. It wasn't quite your cleanest. You know, you've got quite steep on that 6.8 on the down. And that's just why we've seen that sort of delivery. You take your dynamic loft off down at sort of 16 degrees, it's just going to come out low and fiery, right? That's the swing thing, okay? Yeah. Lovely shot. Nice strike. Again, bit of a pull. But what I'd expect to see, right? We've got the lie angle more appropriate for how you're delivering it. Now what we are seeing is the ball flight in line with where you're swinging it.
Yeah.
Okay, and naturally going into these stronger lofted golf clubs, we're going to see it a little bit flatter. But what we are seeing, spin up at mid 4000s, good. Land angle probably still a little flat.
Yeah.
So it's whether we look at what we do here, whether we have to change shaft and make it more appropriate in terms of flight, get something that's going to pick it up and hit it a bit higher for you. But interesting, you squared that up a wee bit more in terms of club face, a little bit more elevation. We're in sort of like this catch-22 here, where we can make the club suit how you are at the moment, or obviously like we know you're having lessons.
Yeah.
Do we allow and build something consistent so that you can go away, learn? Because ultimately, what's happening at the moment, you're hitting 6 on the down, left, and you just de-lofting the golf club.
Yeah.
We could fix that a little bit or help that a little bit through shaft. I personally feel that's probably the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, like you said, you're having a couple of lessons a month, you're on a journey, you're on a path, there's an outcome that you're trying to achieve. And I think just more consistency, just keep everything the same from there. But what I would say is, looking at that, where you are at the moment, I think 4 iron's not appropriate.
No, definitely not.
Right, it's just going to come out even flatter. Like, I've lofted this up. There's 2.5 degrees more loft than where you started with your previous 6 iron. So there's a nice amount of spin. At least it's going to stop through that. But I can see why we struggle a little bit through there. Your sort of delivery pattern is always going to be a little bit low with the longer irons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I quite like where you are setup wise. Grip, how does that feel to you?
Yeah, feels nice. I'd like to. Could I try that head with the thicker grip? Just the one that's.
What?
That so that
Yeah.
actually is that right?
Yeah, so it's same model head. It's just obviously one's 8, one's 6.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I think I prefer a thicker grip.
You prefer that one?
Yeah, I think I prefer this grip.
It'll be quite
Slightly.
similar to where you are.
Yeah.
In your mid-size. The number one naturally comes a fraction thicker than sort of like a standard sort of tall velvet grip, and then the extra couple of layers just mean it just fills your hands a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know, gets those sausage fingers really round.
Sausage fingers.
All right.
That one.
So I'd go 5-iron top end,
Yeah.
and then what we'll do, we get you hitting a couple with your 50. So let's just see you play a few shots with your 50 degree.
Yeah.
Because like I said, in terms of like physical structure of the heads, they're a very different style of golf club. Like if you look at the different types of the head,
Yeah.
you know, yes, you have these sorts of little pocket cavities, but fundamentally it's still a blade, right? Compared to something that is very different. That's the sort of way you look at it and go, well, actually, that's going to give you a lot more help than this.
Yeah.
I'd question sort of like the functionality of that. What is that used for? Is it full swings, 3/4? Is it a hitting distance golf club?
Yeah, for me, generally, it's a hitting distant golf club.
So then I'd say, right, so all the other clubs in your bag that are used for hitting specific distances, why is that not the same? Why would you choose a blade over a set wedge?
I just like looking at it.
Right, okay, and that's absolutely fine. You've got to like your golf clubs, but it's that sort of question you always need to ask yourself. Yeah. Why am I doing this?
So is that pitching wedge 50 as well?
No, so this is just a normal pitch wedge. It's just basically, for now,
yeah.
I'm just checking the gap in for you.
Yeah.
And what we do from here beyond, right? So hit a few shots.
Hold it left a bit.
So the 50 degree, we've got around about 100 yards.
Yeah, that's kind of
okay. So going to go with the pitching wedge there.
So my current pitching wedge is about 135-ish.
So when you think about that in the sort of setup of you've gone with a pitching wedge to a gap wedge with a 35-yard gap.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem I've got. Because what I have to do is I have to like try and hit the pitching wedge less, or try and hit my approach wedge more, which then causes this in-between shot between 130 and 100 yards where it's...
And it's just too broad, right?
Yeah.
Nicely done.
That better connection. Definitely going more left today, but I'm not worried about that. It's not...
No, like I said...
I prefer them to be consistently left, if you know what I mean, as opposed to
So there's your sort of 117.
Yeah.
So again, it's the fact that we put loft in your hands and we brought things back, right? Again, it's that, yeah, great, you could play a pitching wedge, a gap wedge, and then your 50 degree, but you're just adding more clubs to select from.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that... that paradox of options. The more options you have, the harder it becomes for you to play golf.
Definitely.
Because you've got more selection. Actually, what you need is fewer options with very defined functions. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah,
so I'd just go 5 to pitch and wedge. If you're comfortable playing your 50 degree and you like the look of it and so on, fine, no problem. What I'd probably say is we can just play around with the lie a little bit for you there, because you can see the majority of your wear is going towards that toe a little bit. So you can see it rubs through the toe fractionally more than through the heel. So again, we'd look at that and we could just alter that for you. So at least you've got some consistency there throughout the bag, having that sort of ascending line all through into the wedges to help you create a cleaner contact. And weight-wise as well, it's at 115 grams, so it's slightly heavier. It's going to do something quite similar. Whether you want to change the grip or anything like that, it's up to you. But yeah, that's where we are with those. Sort of like the nice thing that we offer is obviously we don't charge anyone, but we have a good selection of ferrules. So you can pick from any of the ferrules you like. We can put those on for you. I've got them here. Any take your fancy?
Blue and white.
Blue and white.
Correct.
Don't think so. Don't think so.
Yeah.
You're always going to blue and white. You knew that, didn't you?
So you've got sort of different couples of blues and whites. So you got that one. I quite like that one personally. think this one.
That's mine, yeah. I like that one, thank you.
What we're going for.
That is beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, fine. And then grips wise, I imagine you're going to go red and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, blue and white. We had about that. Threw me then. Absolutely threw me.
Yeah, so we can do the blue and white in those.
Yeah.
So that'll look pretty good because obviously you've got the sort of navy and white in the back there as well.
Yep.
So cool.
Awesome.
Right, happy days.
Cracking.
Done and dusted. Right, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
So guys, a fantastic fitting as always down here at SGGT, and a very unbiased one there, a higher handicap golfer with plenty of speed, and he has been fitted into those Mizuno JPX hot metal high launch irons. So we are going to wait for those irons to come, and then we are going to get out on the golf course with Kieran and see how he does over 9 holes, or if you want to see 18 holes, get in those comments below. But guys, if you're enjoying the content, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you again very soon.